and welcome to the Parenting Roundabout podcast for the week of June 14th, 2021. I'm Catherine Haleko, and I'm here with Terry Morrow and Nicole Aronix, but only for a minute because we're taking a vacation this week.
Not to worry, though. We'll still be bringing you a podcast episode every day.
We've reached into our copious archives to bring you some recent discussions about travel, now that summer is here and we're all starting to be able to leave our homes again. Maybe some of us.
Today we're talking about vacation re-entry because I just came back from being gone for a week, and you know how when that happens, the next week is it's hard. Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't call it a nightmare, but it's just a struggle to get yourself back on track.
Right.
Whether it's just your sleeping habits or, doing all the stuff that you put off because you didn't have time to do before the trip, or, unpacking and doing laundry and all that stuff that happens because of the trip. So, it can get overwhelming. I think that's...
It's like rubbing it in. You're back home, and now you have to deal with all this stuff.
Yeah, and I think I have the tendency to kind of freeze and, not know what to tackle first, I guess. Is part of what I find difficult about it. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm just wondering how you reestablish routines after you've gotten out of them for whatever reason.
I don't know. You've been traveling lately, Nicole, right?
I have, and I tend to not unpack for a good week.
Oh, wow.
Unless we are in desperate need of unmentionables. But I just can't. I'm so over it. We come in, I put the suitcase on the floor in my closet, and we just kind of deal with it for a week. It's very, very unproductive and poor habits, but I just can't bear to look at it. I'm so over it. My mother, the minute she gets in the door, she is unpacking and doing laundry and running around. And I'm like, maybe that's because I do the way I do it now because I grew up that way. So now I'm like, nope, I'm not going to touch it.
Right.
I'm just going to relax from my vacation. But anyway, that's kind of how I cope with coming home. It's like, I don't want to deal with it.
I don't know. I think I usually try to just put everything away, get all the luggage up into the attic, get everything back to normal as quickly as possible, because I want to reestablish the routine. Some of the timeshares we stay in have laundry facilities, so sometimes Rick will do the laundry before we leave, so we come home with a suitcase full of clean clothes to put away. Otherwise, we just dump everything in the laundry basket and move on. Yeah, I like to get that transition done as quickly as possible.
Not me. Just, no, I guess it's too hard.
I mean, I made my son unpack because he came in and dumped everything on the kitchen island. Like his suitcase, his jacket, his backpack that he was carrying on, like everything was.
Oh my goodness.
That was not going to work for me.
Right.
So, but I still ended up doing some of his laundry and doing some of his unpacking just because I couldn't stand it. Which I don't like doing, and that's like not a productive way to live.
Right.
But yeah, it's I get in the door and I'm like, do I open the mail? Do I unpack? Do I, and like on our way home, my husband's like, we should stop at the grocery store so we'll make sure we have food. And
that's the worst.
Which I did not do on the way home. I was like, that was too much. I did it, but I did have to do it the next day. And, then that's just one more task that's on the list. So, and then I just feel like, like I needed to pay the property taxes because they were due this week. And
like, as soon as you got home?
Well, the week following the trip, because that was just one of those things that I had put off from before.
Right.
They weren't due until,
right.
They weren't overdue or anything, but it was just, it's just, it's more than just unpacking and going to bed at the regular time. It's dealing with the accumulation that
yes, all those things you put off.
Yeah. Well, you need to take a page out of my book, Catherine. You're doing far too much when you get home. No way. I can't. I think that's probably, that was another thing that we always did was we had to stop and get groceries, and then we had to stop at the mailbox, and then it was just like this huge. Getting home was not fun.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like I like to transition. I like transitions. Mm-hmm. It's a gentle transition back into the real world. And my kids too. I guess they're learning from me as well. They just kind of come in and put their suitcase on the floor for a while. So
my daughter does all her own things with that. I don't really honestly know what she does, but she does it in her room where it's not in my way, so I don't care. And my son, we kind of handle all his stuff for him, so. We pack for him, we unpack for him.
Right.
He's out of that. He just goes in his room and starts doing his thing. So
that's his transition.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's such a big ordeal to get home from vacation. Like, and then you come home and then you've got to keep up all the, the work.
Right.
So you need a break.
Right. And usually you've pushed it so that you're getting home, right before you have to go do something like go back to school or work. So that makes it harder as well, I think.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a difference as to whether you're flying somewhere and returning home on a plane or you're driving somewhere and have that sort of long road trip period to kind of reacclimate. I think that it might be different for me if I was getting home from a airport as opposed to lately mostly we just go places we can drive to. And, I have my computer with me and you're sort of, you're on a vacation, but you're not really away from it all the way you might be if you, got on a plane and did something. We stay pretty close to home. So.
I don't know. Driving is pretty stressful. As you can tell, I don't need much to convince myself to not do anything when I get home.
I think it just, for me, it reaches a point where it's more stressful to not do it. Like
that's me too.
I feel better once I've accomplished certain things and crossed them off the list, whether it's a real list or a mental one,
After our last vacation, when we drove home, it was a relatively short drive. It was a couple of hours. We got home, we, unpacked, we did all our stuff. I'm sitting back at my computer, doing things just like normal, back to usual. And then my computer stopped working. It was like my, as I mentioned recently, my month-old computer stopped working. So it came back from vacation and completely broke.
And it was working while you were gone.
And it was working while we were on vacation. So, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be back at my routine. I don't want to have something bust in my routine. I don't have to go to the Apple store tomorrow and, argue with somebody. Come on. This is supposed to be my reentry. Exactly. So it was not to be.
No.
Somebody thought I had too easy a time of it. Nope, you've got just a little bit more disruption coming to you.
Right.
We're so sorry.
My daughter was lucky because I can't remember if I mentioned this on the podcast or just to you guys, but, her schedule now, she basically only goes to school every other day. And it landed so that she didn't have to do anything on the day she came back. I mean, she didn't have to go to school, but she had plenty of work to do. I mean, she worked all day making up for stuff. But that was why she set it up that way, because to allow herself that time. So worked pretty well.
Good thinking on her part.
I did not have that luxury. mean, in some ways I do because I have flexibility in my work. So that did allow me to go to the grocery store and that sort of thing. But I didn't want to, put off too much work because then it still has to get done sooner or later. So I would be just pushing it off myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I find too, like, even if I have people who are here visiting, like, not us necessarily going away, but people visiting, it takes me a good day or two to get around to cleaning up after. Like, I'm clearly not good with these kinds of transitions. I've got to,
Well, it's the same thing that, you put certain things off because you're busy with your guests and, you want to you say to yourself, well, I'm enjoying my time with these people. I'm not scrubbing the floor or doing laundry or whatever it is. And then, it still has to be done at some point.
Yeah. Yes. Well, my daughter was here for a quick trip this week. She came for less than 24 hours, if you can believe that. And, she left yesterday afternoon and her room is just the way she left it, which was a disaster. And I keep walking by it thinking, I got to deal with that. And then I'm like, oh, no. I don't want to.
And do you think she's back at school with living out of a suitcase? Because she hasn't unpacked it.
Yeah, of course she is. Yep. She's not my daughter for nothing. But we do get around to it, and things eventually do get put away, and life is back to normal again. So,
yep.
That's it for today's Parenting Roundabout Throwback Travel Talk.
Tune in tomorrow for another fun episode.
And remember that we'll have brand new episodes for you next week.